Welcome to your first training session. I just want to start off by saying congratulations for making it this far. It means you have completed all of the functional movement lessons. If there's anything throughout our session where you feel a little unsure of, you can always go back to the lessons, or remember you have that form check channel within the Slack feed that you can ask any questions about form or modifications. So before we get started, we're going to need our red band, and we're also going to need a chair nearby, or you can use a desk, a table. Now, this workout is not meant to be anything super intensive. It is meant to put together all of the movements that we just learned in our functional movements module. And essentially, this is going to be similar to what a beginner personal training session with me would look like. We're going to go over each movement before we do our reps. So kind of follow along with me. Listen while I explain the movement, and I'll tell you when we're going to get started with the actual exercise. So let's do it. Let's grab our red band, and we're going to double it up like this. And we're going to start with just a little shoulder mobility. So you're going to have your arms straight, coming to the end of the band, and we're going to bring it back overhead just to where it's comfortable, but you still feel a little stretch. Okay, and then come forward. So I don't want you to be getting here and then snapping back like this, okay? And I also don't want you to coming here and bending your elbows or going super fast, okay? So it's meant to stretch out the upper body, get that shoulder mobility working. Okay, let's do a few more of these. Good. And one more. I also want to mention that throughout the workout, if you need a little extra time and you can't necessarily keep up with the reps that I'm doing, that's totally okay. Count your own reps, go at your own pace. If you don't do the amount of reps that I do in the workout, again, totally okay. We want the end to be a little bit of a challenge, but not so much that you can't move or that you can't keep up with your form, okay? So for this next warm up, you're going to stand with your feet hip width apart on the band, okay? Fingers are forward, so the band is just in that crease of your thumb. Holding it at the shoulders, we're going to squat down and then press up, okay? You can hold on to the band tightly if you're worried, but I promise you it's not going to snap if you've purchased the same band that I've linked, okay? If you're not comfortable pressing overhead, you can keep the band just in front of the shoulders. Okay, keep that core engaged. Let's do 1, 2 more. 2, last one. 3. Good. Let's put the band aside. We're going to do some hip openers here. So if you need to hold on to something for balance, feel free. We're going to have our hands on our hips. Big circles opening up those hips. Good. 4, 5, 6, 2 more, 7, and 8. And one last one. We're going to stand with our feet wide, just a little wider than shoulder width. Okay, legs straight, core engaged. We're going to reach hand to opposite foot. You should feel a stretch through the hamstrings and the back of the legs, behind the knees. Okay, come back up to standing. Same thing on the other side. Now, if you can't reach as far as your toes, just go as far as you can, okay? Keep that core engaged, especially if you have experienced back pain in the past. If this does hurt your back, then stop the movement. And that goes for any of the exercises going forward in the workout, okay? All right, so let's get started. We're going to start with one of our first exercises that we did in the course, and that is the plank. So I'm going to remind you of everything that you need to know for the plank. Number one is that we're going to start on our forearms. We want to make sure our elbows are in line with our shoulders and not ahead of them, okay? So you have two options here. Remember, we want to choose the one that allows us to keep our pelvis tucked, so hips towards ribs, keeping that form without the lower back sagging. Okay, so if this is enough for you, this is what you're gonna hold. Otherwise, you're gonna come up to your toes, squeezing everything. Okay, and then here, if I'm still not done, you can drop to your knees. All right, so we're gonna do it and we're gonna aim for a 30-second hold here. Choose your option, knees or toes. Remember, you wanna keep that pelvis tucked. All right, forearms on the mat. Okay, getting into position, hips towards ribs, and let's hold for 30 seconds. Good. Okay, everything is being squeezed, the glutes, the core. We're kind of pushing our shoulders up towards the ceiling, or pushing our upper back up towards the ceiling. If you feel your back sagging, drop your knees to the ground. Okay, keep holding. We're almost there. We got 5 seconds left. Good. 2 and 1 and rest. Nice. Okay. Exercise 1 is complete. Now we're going to come up to standing and we're going to get into our squat. Reminders with the squat. We want to start by bracing that core. So bracing as if we're going to get a punch to the gut. Then we're going to do our pelvic tuck for a little extra insurance of that core engagement. I'm going to start with my feet shoulder width apart, or just a little bit wider, and toes either just slightly out or facing forward, whatever's more comfortable for you. Now, if you were somebody who, when you were doing the lessons, you noticed that you were lifting your heels off of the floor when you were coming into your squat, then go ahead and grab a chair to have it behind you, so that you can really focus on sitting your weight into your hips and your heels so that your heels don't lift and you know that you're not going to fall. All right. So let's get back to it. So feet shoulder width apart, toes are either just slightly out or straight forward. I'm tucking my pelvis, my core is engaged. Now I'm going to initiate the movement by sitting the hips back and then slowly bending the knees to lower, keeping my chest up. Good. I feel it in my glutes, my hamstrings. Weight is in my heels, but my feet are staying flat on the ground. And now I'm going to push through the floor to come up to standing. One more thing to keep in mind. We want to make sure that we're using our abductors here to gently open up the hips so that our knees stay stacked over our ankles. Okay, so it just looks like this. Sitting back, my chest stays up. Good. My knees are staying over my ankles and they're not caving inwards, okay? Or just going like this, right? We want to keep them in line with our ankles. Okay, so let's get started. I'll do it from the side view here. My feet are shoulder width or just a little bit wider apart. Toes slightly out or forward. Core is engaged. My pelvis is tucked. And while I maintain that, I'm going to sit back and slowly lower down. Chest stays up. Good. Drive up through the floor. That's 1. Let's go for 9 more. Here we go. 2. Good. Keeping that core engaged. Sitting back. 3. Good. Using my abductors to make sure that my knees stay over my ankles. 4. Making sure I'm keeping my core braced the whole time. 5. 6. 7. Good. Almost there. And if you're not going as low as me, that's okay. Remember, I just want you to go as much as you can while keeping that form. Okay. So we want to also make sure our knees aren't going too far forward here. We want to initiate the movement with our hips. Okay. All right. So here we go. 8. 9. Good. Last one. 10. Okay, squat is done. We're going to go on to our seated band row. So that is the pull movement. We've got our band. We're going to come down to seated. My legs are going to be straight out in front. I'm going to put the band around the arches of my feet. Okay, try to keep it together. Then I'm going to sit up nice and straight. So I'm pretending that there's a string pulling me from the top of my head. My core is engaged. I'm pulling my shoulders back and down. Okay, and as I pull the band, I'm going to rotate my fingers in, keeping my elbows close to the body, and I'm going to come to the point where I can squeeze mid-back for 2 seconds, 1, 2, and then slowly release while staying straight up. So I'm not allowing the band to pull me forward. I'm also rowing my hands towards the bottom of my rib cage. So it's not coming up here, okay? That's going to cause the shoulders to shrug. It's going to cause tension in your traps and your neck, and we don't want that, all right? So let's do it together. Our band's wrapped around the arch of our feet. We're sitting straight up as if a string is pulling our head up. Okay, we're going to start to pull and we're going to turn our fingers inwards. Elbows stay close to the body. Good. I'm going to squeeze mid-back for 2 seconds and slowly release. That's 1. 2. Squeeze, squeeze. Good. 3. Good. 4. Okay, make sure we're squeezing that mid-back. 5. And we're not letting the band round us out. 6. 7. And you don't have to pull too far back here, okay? We just want it to a point where you can feel that squeeze in the mid-back. 8. 2 more. 9. This one's really good for our posture, remember, especially if we're sitting all day. And 10. Nice. All right, we're going to get up. We're doing our reverse lunges. Reminders with the reverse lunge. We're going to start with our feet hip width apart for this one. We want to maintain that hip width distance. I'm going to actually face this way. So we want to maintain that hip width distance as we step back into our lunge. We want to aim for a 90-degree bend in both our front and our back knee. Then we're going to push through the front heel to come up to standing, okay? So we're not pushing off this back foot. Nice and slow, okay? A couple things here. If you feel like you are off balance with the lunges, go slower, step back a little bit wider. What that's going to do is going to widen your center of gravity and improve your balance and stability. If you find you are still having a hard time with your balance, then hold on to a wall, or you can use a broomstick or something, even just lightly touching a table. So I want your hands to be just very light on whatever object you use. Then you're going to step back on that same side as the side that you're touching the object for balance. So like this, okay? Then you're really going to focus on your form, pushing through that front heel. And as you feel more confident, you can move away from the object. So let's do our reverse lunges. We're going to stay on the same side. We're going to do 8 on each side, okay? So my feet are hip width apart, my core is engaged. We're going to focus on the glutes here. So we're going to take a little bit bigger stride back and a slight lean forward. All right, here we go. Stepping back, lowering down 90 degrees, front and back, pushing through my front heel to come up to standing. That's 1. Again. 2. Good. 3. Remember, if you need a little more time, that's okay. 4. Or if you can't quite do 8 reps, that's fine too. 5. Good. Reminder to keep that core engaged. Slight hinge, push through the heel. 6. We got 2 more on this side. 7. Good. 1 more. And 8. Good. You can shake that out. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. So my feet are hip width apart. My core is engaged. Chin is slightly tucked, so I'm not going to keep my head up while I'm doing this. And I'm ready to go on the other side. Are you? All right, let's go for 8. So stepping back, landing on the toe, front back knee as close to 90 degrees as possible, pushing through that front heel. 1, 2, 3, 4. Good, you got it. Re-engage that core. 5. Push through that front heel. 6. Good. Push through that heel. Feel it in that glute. 7. 8. That's it. Shake it out. Okay, we're almost done. I know it went by quickly, didn't it? This whole thing is meant to not overwhelm you. So in the next session, we're going to go for 2 laps. This one, we're only going for 1. So grab your chair or whatever object you're using for your push-ups. I'm going to grab the handles of my chair. I'm going to use the arms of my chair because it's just about wide enough. Remember, we want to place our hands just wider than shoulder width on our object. Okay, we're going to step back onto our toes. We're going to tuck our pelvis. So again, just like with the plank, turning our hips towards our ribs. We're going to look down, so we're not cranking our neck up like this. Okay, we're going to push our upper back up towards the ceiling so it's not falling between our shoulders like this. Okay, and then we're going to initiate the movement by bending the elbows, keeping them 45 degrees from the body so we're not allowing them to flare like this. All right, so get into position. If you need a minute to get your object, do so. You can pause. Let's do it. We're going to go for between 6 and 8. If you need to stop at 6, all good. If you want to keep going till 8, it's up to you. Okay, so my feet, they're hip width apart. I'm on my toes. I'm tucking my tailbone or turning my hips towards my ribs, maintaining that. You'll feel your abs engage. Okay, pushing my upper back towards the ceiling. And I'm going to keep my chin tucked and initiate the movement by bending my elbows, keeping them 45 degrees from the body, and then pushing up. Only go as far down as you feel comfortable keeping your form. 2, 3. As I said in the lesson, push-ups aren't easy. I'm struggling. Here we go. 4. Good. 5. Whew. 6. All right, 2 more. If you can't, then just rest. 7. Good. Last one. Keep that core engaged. Retuck the pelvis. 8. Okay. Shake it out. And we're at our last movement. We're going to do the hinge movement. So I'm going to move this out of the way. Oops. For the hinge movement, we're going to start with our feet hip width apart. Again, I'm going to engage the core, tuck the pelvis, and I'm going to initiate the movement by pushing my hips back. So imagine something is pushing you here, or you're closing a car door with your bum. We want to tuck the chin. Okay, core is engaged, And here we go. Something is pushing me. I'm pushing my hips back. As I push back, my knees start to gently bend and my torso comes forward, right? If I cannot go back any further, then I come up, right? So we don't want to, if we're here and our butt's not moving back anymore, we don't need to come forward like this, or we don't need to bend the knees at all, okay? It's not a squat. So I'll demonstrate one more time before we get into our reps. Feet hip width apart, cores engaged, chin tucked. Okay, I'm going to cross my arms over my chest, and we're imagining something is pushing us at the hips. We're keeping our spine straight. Okay, so loosen those knees. And here we go. We're going to push our hips back. Good. My chest is slowly coming forward. Oops, forgot to cross my arms. I can't go back any further with my hips. I feel a stretch in the hamstrings. I'm going to drive my body up through my feet. All right, let's do it together. We're going to do 8. So feet hip width apart, core is engaged. I'm going to cross my arms over my chest. My chin is tucked, and I'm going to start by pushing my hips back. My knees are gently just starting to bend naturally. My chest is coming almost parallel to the floor. I feel a big stretch here. My butt can't go back any further, so I'm going to come up. That's 1. Again, core is engaged, chin is tucked. Something's pushing me at my hips. Okay, it's bringing my chest forward. Knees gently bend. I can't go back anymore. And up. 3. Good. Pushing that butt back as if we're closing a car door. Good. Drive up. Okay, 4. Remember, we want to keep our back nice and straight, so we're not rounding forward, right? Good. Come up. For 5, core is engaged. Pushing those hips back, back, back. Nice. 2 more. 6. Good. Did I say 2 more? I meant 3 more. Now we have 2 more. 7. Good. Last one. Core is engaged. Back is straight. Chin is tucked. Knees are loose. Here we go for 8. Pushing those hips back, back, back. And up. Very nice. So that hinge movement is what we're going to use for deadlifts later on when we start to pick up the dumbbells. So let's do a little stretch now. Our first session is done. Congratulations, you did it. If there's anything that you didn't feel comfortable with or that you have questions about, you can always go back to the lessons, or you can put them in that form check channel. So let's do our stretch. We're going to come down to the mat. We're going to come onto our backs here. And we're going to do a little figure 4. So you can place your foot on your knee. Figure 4, you have 2 options. So you want to bring your bottom foot a little bit closer to you. Option 1, you can just gently push your knee downwards. Option 2, you can thread the needle here for a deeper stretch, only if that's comfortable for you, and hold. So you're either holding this or you're holding the pose, pushing your knee down gently. Good. Take a big deep breath in through the nose here. And exhale. Good. One more. And exhale. As you exhale, you can release that. We're going to go on the other side, figure 4. Hopefully my feet aren't too dirty. We're going to either gently push the knee downwards, or we're going to thread the needle and hold. Good. Let's take a big deep breath in. And as we exhale, we're going to release. Good. Let's come up to seated in a way that's comfortable for you again. And we're going to come onto one knee. So if you need something soft under your knee, you can pause the video and please go get it. Your mat should be okay, but if you need a pillow or something like that, feel free. We're gonna get onto one knee here. We're gonna tuck our tailbone here, so you'll feel a stretch through that quad, through that hip flexor, and you're just gonna hold that for a couple seconds. Okay, now we're gonna bring the hand down, and I'm gonna turn away from you. So you're opening up the chest on the side of the knee that's up. Okay, and holding here. Take a big deep breath in through that rib cage. And as you exhale, bring it down. Hand lands on the other side of your foot. You're going to slowly sit back here, stretching behind the knee through that hamstring. If you can't get down quite as low, you can go as far as you can to about here, or you can come up to a standing position. If you're on the floor, stay. You can come up to a standing position and use a higher object and lean forward, okay? But we're here for now. Good. We're going to come back up. We're going to switch knees. So other knee comes up. I'm going to tuck my tailbone, feel that stretch in the quad and the hip flexor. Good. I'm going to take my outside hand, place it on the mat. I'm going to twist open, opening up the chest here. Good. Take a big deep breath in. Feel it in the rib cage. And as you exhale, you're going to bring the hand outside of the foot and sit back. Again, if you need to stand to stretch the hamstring, please do. I want your stretches to be just feeling a slight discomfort, but like a good one. They should not be painful or feel impossible. So if you can't do something, do the modification. And again, you can let me know in that Slack feed if you need any other modifications. Okay, we're going to come to seated. We'll do a little tricep stretch from those push-ups. So you are going to bring your left hand, place it on your left shoulder. Then depending on whatever's comfortable, you're either going to push or pull the elbow back. Great job. Okay, we can release that. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. So far we've been consistent, learning all of our functional exercises. Again, if you have to go back to anything, please do. If you need the link to Functional Movements 101, it's down below where you can, in detail, learn all of the movements and practice them so that you can do this workout. It is a true beginner strength training workout session without dumbbells, because this is where I start all of my beginners. I believe that we should have our form down with body weight only before we pick up dumbbells. This is the least overwhelming way to do it, and it's also the safest way if you are new to strength training. So again, great job, and I will see you in our next session.